Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Seattle Area Independent Schools Virtual College Fair. Before I take on some housekeeping items, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Harrington from UPrep.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Before we turn things over to our fabulous college guests, I wanted to thank you on behalf of our SAIS group. So Rainier Scholars, Annie and Charles Wright Academies, Bush, the Downtown School, Eastside Prep, Forest Ridge, Lakeside, Northwest, Overlake, and of course, UPrep. We are grateful that you are here, and we hope that you enjoy this time to connect with our wonderful colleges. Thank you. And I will turn it back to Courtney.
Thanks so much, Kelly. We have an incredible list of institutions for you to hear from this afternoon, and I know you're going to have fun. But first, a couple of housekeeping items. This is a webinar, so your camera and your microphone are off, so our panelists won't be able to see or hear you. But we know that you're going to have some questions, and they want to make sure you get those questions answered. So at any time during the presentation, you're welcome to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Type out the college or university that you're asking the question to, and then your question. That way they'll be able to answer appropriately. This is a really fun way to learn about colleges and universities. And so I'm really glad that you're here today. And I know you're going to really enjoy the session. This session, as well as the previous sessions in the last 2 hours, were all recorded and will be available soon at strivescan.com/SAIS. So now I'd like to turn it over to our first presenter. You're going to hear first from Emory University. Will, take it away whenever you're ready.
Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Will Cannon, and I'll share my screen to get started. While I'm doing that, let me just take a brief moment to say thank you to all of you for coming. I'm glad that you have decided to spend the next 45 minutes or so learning about our institutions. Again, my name is Will Cannon. I'm a Senior Assistant Dean of Admission at Emory University, and I've been working here for about 8 years now, but before that I was a student at Emory as well. So Emory is a very special place for me, and I look forward to spending the next few minutes sharing with you a little bit more about it. So for those of you who don't know, we are located in Atlanta, Georgia, and Atlanta is very much a global and dynamic city with companies from around the world and organizations from around the world and people from around the world. You can see a quick snapshot here of some of the organizations that have either a global or a North American headquarters in Atlanta. And so this is, we share our community with these organizations. And I like to start here because talking about where you go to school a little bit more broadly can be helpful to think about, especially because this offers, so much opportunity for experiential learning, engagement outside of the classrooms, through internships and service and other areas like that. So for those of you who, across a wide range of interests, who may be interested in getting involved with a Fortune 500 company or something more entrepreneurial, maybe some of you are interested in getting involved with the social sector or nonprofits. Atlanta was the cradle of the civil rights movement, and that legacy continues today through organizations like the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. And I'm guessing some of you may be interested in the sciences and healthcare, and conveniently for you, the state's largest healthcare system is on our campus, and the Centers for Disease Control is next door. And so across a wide range of interests, this is a place, Emory is situated to offer a lot of opportunity for professional growth and exploration. And it's not a bad place to, launch a career as well. I mentioned that Atlanta is very much a global city, which is true, and that's no different of our campus. In fact, you can see here in purple the places where our current undergraduates and graduate students come from. And so there's just enormous global geographic diversity, linguistic diversity, 85 first languages spoken, religious, and across in almost every metric, you will find people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, bringing different perspectives to the experience here. And that's so valuable because students are in this living and learning environment and constantly learning, again, from each other as peers, in addition to what they're learning in the classroom. There are a few ways that students can navigate through their 4 years at Emory as an undergraduate. We have 4 undergraduate schools: Emory College, Oxford College, our business school, and our nursing school. All of our freshmen and sophomores will begin at Emory or Oxford colleges, which are distinct primarily in terms of size and location with Emory College being at our larger campus in Atlanta with a bit more of a research orientation. The graduate and professional schools are located there, and Oxford College being about 40 minutes east of Atlanta, where we were originally founded in 1836. And that's a smaller environment. It's just freshmen and sophomores, under 1,000 students, a lot of faculty interaction there. Also a lot of ability to take ownership over your interest immediately, because our student leaders on the Oxford campus are freshmen and sophomores, which is kind of unique. So in the first 2 years, a student has the ability to apply to one or both of those. In the latter 2 years, regardless of where a student begins, all of our juniors and seniors finish on our Atlanta campus, either in the business school, the nursing school, or pursuing one of the majors available in Emory College. So the latter 2 years are really more about the academic program that a student wants to pursue. Emory is both a liberal arts institution and a research institution, and we think that those two concepts blend in really interesting ways. This is a place where if you want to explore the world from different perspectives, from different angles, to look at the world from through different disciplines, you will have that opportunity. It's a place of intellectual inquiry and creative expression, but it's also a place where if you have an idea that you really want to run with, we encourage and offer the resources to students to do research or to push the boundaries of what we know to be true. It's a place of discovery of new knowledge. And there's so many examples of how that works. It's also a really interdisciplinary place, both from the student and the faculty perspective. And I'd be happy to answer some questions about that if there are any a little bit later. Emory is also a place that is recognized year after year for its student quality of life, which is borne out in student surveys and other sources. And I think this has a lot to do with the fact that this is a very collaborative environment. It's a very supportive environment. And it's also a place that's constantly asking, how can we be more inclusive, more supportive? In fact, I usually say for questions related to campus life and student life, especially in an environment like this, where we have limited time, I would really encourage you connect with one of our student ambassadors. We have over 100, I believe, student ambassadors who are current students at Emory who have opted into this because they want to ask or to answer questions from prospective students like you on what is it like to be a student at Emory from the West Coast, or what is it like to be a student at Emory studying on the pre-med track. I would encourage you to look into that, and you can find more information about that and other sources of information on our website through some of the resources that you see here. There is just an enormous amount of information at apply.emory.edu, not just the student ambassadors and the ability to connect with them, but virtual sessions on different topics, videos, virtual tours. My information as the Washington rep is there as well. And so feel free to connect with me and our office through these sources. And I look forward to taking some questions a little bit later on as well. I may not be able to get to all of them. So if I don't get to all the questions through the chat here, again, you can reach out to us that way. But in the interest of time, I'm going to turn it over now to the next institution. And thanks for your time today.
Thanks so much, Will. And that was a great reminder that students and families can put questions in that Q&A at any time. Just make sure that you're directing that question to the college or university first, so they know who needs to respond. So next up, I'm really excited to introduce to you Skidmore College. Darren, take it away whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you very much. And let's get to a shared screen here. And great to see everybody looking at us. Happy to be out in the Pacific Northwest with you all. My name is Darren Drabeck, Associate Director of Admissions at Skidmore College and native of the great state of Washington. And as much as I can bring Skidmore to you, we are a diverse learning community of 2,500 undergraduate students. We do not have any graduate programs. And so all of the attention, all of the focus, all of the resources are on you, the undergraduate students. Students come to Skidmore College from all over the world. 10% of our students are international students, 5% of our American students are dual citizens and have spent a considerable amount of time outside the United States, and students come to Skidmore from over 40 states around the United States. We truly have a national and an international reputation. 2,500 students, but our academic experience is intimate and personal. Our average class size of about 16 students, and our student to faculty ratio is half of that at only 8-to-1. We are a bit distinctive as one of the few top tier liberal arts and sciences colleges that have majors that lead to both Bachelor of Science degrees and Bachelor of Arts degrees. The majority of our majors are in the liberal arts and sciences, and then 7 programs that lead to a Bachelor of Science degree are in some of our pre-professional offerings, such as a management and business major, a human physiological sciences major, a social work major, education, and then our fine and performing arts programs in dance, theater, and studio arts also lead to a Bachelor of Science degree, which kind of puts them a little bit more on a conservatory kind of environment, though we don't offer the BFA and it's not a conservatory, but our fine and performing arts students are wonderfully inspired by and influenced by the rest of the liberal arts, and we do attract students with conservatory talent in those areas. Some of our most popular majors include business, English, biology, psychology, studio art, and political science, and a broad range that really reflects the diversity of our students. And our students are able to engage in a lot. They feel that this is the community where you can do both. You can have more, and our students are double majoring and minoring at a very large clip, and really enjoy the interdisciplinary exploration of the academics and opportunities for students, and the pre-professional engagement around internships, collaborative research opportunities for our students as well. Our location is absolutely distinctive to the Skidmore experience. We're in Saratoga Springs, New York, a safe small city in upstate New York, located about 30 minutes from Albany, New York, and the Albany International Airport, and within an hour radius of Saratoga Springs. Over 1 million people live, and great cities like Albany, Troy, and Schenectady, with some other universities located in them, are not far from Saratoga. We're most famous in Saratoga for our summer resort community, the home to the oldest thoroughbred horse racing track in the United States. We attract hundreds of thousands of tourists all summer long, and then during the school year, it is a college town. All of the shops, all of the restaurants, everything that tourists enjoy in the summer remain open year round. It is not just a tourist town and resort community. Saratoga is a thriving community during all year round, and a large enough small city to have internship opportunities and community engagement for our students. Our students are welcomed in our community as well, and that's important to us. And then we're just located in the foothills of the Adirondack Mountains, some amazing natural resources that students have access to. The Adirondack State Park, the largest state park in the United States, is only about 25 minutes north of Saratoga Springs. Great opportunities for research and exploration for students in the sciences and biology, environmental studies, geosciences as well. But then just great recreation that students can enjoy in all 4 seasons. Easy access to some other great cities of the Northeast. New York City, Boston, and Montreal are only about 3.5 hours away, and connected by public transportation from our community as well. We just briefly about the admissions process. We're on the common application or coalition application. We have no supplements in those applications. The interview is almost like a supplement though, and we love them. We encourage those interviews. We've been interviewing students since May and would love to meet you in that way as well. All the interviews are being done via Zoom or video interviews. And we remain SAT or ACT optional, which we have been for many years. And that is important to us as we review applications holistically and review them across all of the hard work that you've done across the many years, as opposed to one sitting in an instance. That is a little bit with our admissions deadlines, I guess. And we do use the CSS profile for financial aid. We offer fee waivers for the CSS profile. We meet 100% of demonstrated need to any student to whom we offer admission. And we have early decision, regular decision as the application opportunities and deadlines. And then that's me. So I hope to get to know students more in this forum, but then also later connecting with us in my office and me. And enjoyed presenting with you all and hope to talk with you more as we have time. Thank you, Courtney.
Darren, thanks so much to you and Skidmore College. Next up, I have the opportunity to introduce to you Reed College. Take it away, Emma, whenever you're ready.
Hi, all. It is great to be speaking with you today. My name is Emma. I am an admission fellow here at Reed. I just graduated in May, and I am one of the counselors for the Seattle area in Washington. So great to connect with y'all. So what is Reed? We are on your West Coast in Portland, Oregon, and we are a small liberal arts and sciences college. By small, we have about 1,500 students, average class size of 17, and a student faculty ratio of 9:1. What that looks like in practice is a community. When you're on our campus, you might feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. You know, there's beautiful giant trees. We have a canyon that bisects our campus. It's a natural spring and waterway where students can, relax on that mile worth of trail, or maybe do a research project on there. At Reed, we really value this community. We bring people who want to engage in our classes and our academics, as well as be a part of this place. It is for you. So one stuff I want to emphasize about Reed. One of the big things about Reed is our grading policy. At Reed, we try to de-emphasize and decenter the number from our educational experience. So at Reed, you have grades, but you do not see them unless you ask for them. Instead, all of your assignments come with written feedback and no numbers. Our goal for this is to take the power out of those numbers and put it back into you to better engage with the content and let you be the independent and creative thinker that we know you are, and find ways to redefine success for yourself and cut down on competitiveness among fellow students. You can't compare the different red marks on a paper as well as you could compare the difference between an 82 and an 85. On that note, we are test blind this year. So if you're applying this year as a senior, we will not be looking at the SAT or ACT scores, so keep that in mind. Another point I want to make about Reed's academic liberal arts approach to things is that while we very much value being in the classroom, having your nose in a book, another big part of Reed's education is research. So many students at Reed will be involved with research during their time here. Excuse me, window is open, a bit noisy. But one of the ways that we do this is that we require a senior thesis during your senior year, a year-long project embarked upon within your major with the advice of a professor, asking some question about your discipline, figuring out how to answer it, and then writing a book to show how you did that, whether that's how does this bacteria eat plastic, what happens when I perform this musical, what does the Portland Art Museum do downtown to be more accessible to the residents? Reed students are involved in the cutting edge of their discipline and in the city itself. Because of the thesis and otherwise engaging with research at Reed, whether that's working in a lab as a freshman or publishing a paper with a professor in your junior year, Reed students are involved in their own education. About 3/4 of Reed students will get some sort of graduate level degree at some point in their lives, and 1/4 of Reed alums will actually go on to get a PhD. We're number 4 per capita in PhDs, which is pretty neat. And then I mentioned that we have a really strong community. Our community is one of creativity and autonomy. Reed students get to be all parts of themselves. You can join any club. First day you get to read and be whoever you want to be. You can be the best tango player, basketball player, music show host and newspaper editor all at once, and no one will bat an eye. Instead, they will welcome you into that. All of our clubs are student run. They manage all the funding. They do all of that work themselves. And our student body government has a really strong relationship with our admin, working to make the campus how students want it to be. You're an active member in your education app read, whether that's in the classroom asking the questions that you want to ask, or working on our nuclear reactor, which I should mention because it's on this slide. Only undergrad run nuclear reactor in the country. Pretty rad. And in my last 45 seconds, I want to plug, again, we're test blind. We're not looking at your standardized test scores this year. It is free to apply to read. There's absolutely no app fee. And I encourage you all to connect virtually with us, whether you want to sign up for an interview or some sort of visit, or we have a lot of sessions on our website that are free and open to the public on how to navigate the college process, whether you're curious about what does it mean to apply early decision, or how financial aid might work, or how do I interview? How do I write this essay? We have sessions that are open to y'all. So I highly encourage you all to take advantage of those if you have any questions. So thanks.
Emma, thanks so much to you and Reed College. Our final presentation tonight will be from the University of Glasgow. And Ashley, take it away whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley Warmington. I'm the Senior International Officer for the University of Glasgow. I'm actually based in California, and I act as a local point of contact for all students in the West US. Also, I'll be up in Seattle next week. So if you're interested in finding out if you can book an appointment with me, please scan the barcode, which I have put on each of my slides. I will also be hosting a parent and student information evening on Tuesday, the 21st. So just go ahead and scan that barcode if at any point you're interested in finding out more about attending that. So the University of Glasgow was founded in 1451. We are the fourth oldest institution in the English-speaking world. In terms of student population, we actually now have over 30,000 students. But what's really cool about that student body is that it's very diverse. It's made up of over 140 nationalities. So Glasgow is definitely a strong global community, which really enhances that experience in the classroom, because during those student-led discussions in your seminar classes, you'll get to experience all different perspectives and hear from students from all over the world, which is a really exciting opportunity for you. We're consistently ranked as a world top 100 institution. We're ranked as 12th in the UK, and we were recently named Scottish University of the Year. So that's all very exciting things at the University of Glasgow. Most of our degrees are going to be 4 years in length, and they do offer some flexibility and choice. So I'll go into the degree structure in just a moment's time as well. But Scotland, I always like to say, is great for a student who has a sense of adventure. If you ask a University of Glasgow student what their favorite hobby is, they'll most likely tell you that they love to travel. Our students take advantage of what's right on their doorstep. Scotland is great for anybody who's interested in things like mountain climbing, outdoor activities, winter sports. It's great for all of that. But of course, there's so much more than just outdoor activities, arts, culture, and particularly in Glasgow, there's a great music scene and also comedy and theater scene in the city of Glasgow. Glasgow is actually the largest city in Scotland and the fourth largest in the UK. It's a very student-friendly place to live. I mentioned that we have over 30,000 students at the University of Glasgow, but there are actually a total of 6 colleges and universities within the city. So you can imagine at how big of a student population there is in the city. Glasgow is a UNESCO City of Music, so on average, there are 150 music events that take place across the city every single week. So everything from those larger arena, big name acts that stop by, such as Beyonce or the Foo Fighters or Coldplay, all the way to those really small, intimate music venues, such as acoustic nights and cafes and everything in between. If you're into music or theater, Glasgow has a lot to offer. And I always like to point that out because it's very much a city with a pulse. There's always something happening and going on for our students. You're never going to be bored in the city of Glasgow. But one thing that I really like about Glasgow is that although it's the biggest city in Scotland, it's still a relatively small city of about 1 million people. And that's within the entire sprawl of the city as well. So it's easy to also find your community and make it feel like home and not get lost in it. Our campus is located in the west end of Glasgow. This is a more laid back, quieter part of the city. It's a short 25-minute walk from our city center. Our city is very safe for pedestrians. It's easy to get around, but we also have great public transportations, including a subway system. So if you're, most of our students will live around our west end, but if you're going into the city center to maybe catch a concert or go shopping, etc., you can actually be in the city center in less than 10 minutes with a subway ride. And we have subway stations located around our campus. So speaking of which, this is an aerial view of our beautiful campus. And even though we have a larger student population, our campus isn't sprawled across the city. It's nicely contained, so you can get from one end of campus to the opposite within about a 10-minute walk. That's our main building there. And we also have a 13-floor library that houses over 2 million books and special collections. So a lot of great resources at your fingertips. We do also like to make sure that our students have a rich network of support, and most of our support resources are located centrally in the Fraser building right here on campus, including an international student support team, a careers office, and there's even a doctor's office right there on campus. But in terms of what you can study, we actually have over 300 degree areas available. If I had to cherry pick to tell you a few that we're known for, I'd say we're very strong in our STEM subjects, but also in general, I would say business management, computing sciences, engineering, international relations, and psychology are amongst some of our most popular ones. But we have a ton of joint degree options and opportunities for you to really tailor your degree path. If you remember one thing about the difference between the US degree structure and the Scottish degree structure, it is that you apply directly to your major and you study your major from day one. So Scotland is great for a student who knows what they want to study and they want to have that tailored experience. There are no general education or core curriculum requirements. So it's great if you know you want to be an engineer, you're studying engineering from year one. It's really an exciting opportunity to focus early on. So our undergrad requirements are traditionally test focused. However, we are test optional. So we're still going to be focusing on your academic background, minimum 3.5 GPA, and we're looking for advanced level coursework. So do ask me more about that if you want to know more details about entry requirements. Students can apply either the Common App or through UCAS. Our tuition starts at about $25,000 US per year. We do accept FAFSA as well as the GI Bill. And we have 3 members of staff located right here in country. So please feel free to reach out to me, and I hope to see you whilst I'm in Seattle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashley, to you and the University of Glasgow. I'm now going to invite all of our college panelists to turn back on their cameras and share a little bit more about your institution. So if you, what's one thing that you want students to remember about your college or university? And we're going to go in the same order that you presented originally in. So that means Will from Emory is up first.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to think of one. I was hoping maybe I could throw in a few quick ones. Emory is very, if there was one thing, I would say Emory is very much a place where students have many interests. It's very common to see students major, double major in vastly different areas, or have an academic path supplemented by a lot of different extracurricular activities. And I think this really contributes to the student life that we have here, and a really engaging student body that sort of reaches across a wide range of areas. I'll leave it at that since it has to be one, but hopefully I can fill in some gaps there a little bit later.
We at Skidmore, we say that creative thought matters, and it does in everything we do, from the sciences to the arts, to research, to internships and campus experiences. But we really value creative thought at Skidmore, and that's very important to us.
Yeah, lovely answers so far. For Reed, I would say students find a lot of autonomy with support at this place. Everyone comes to Reed with great passion, and we try to meet students where they are by meeting full financial aid with our support resources, by having wonderful professors, and help students grow and explore those passions and see what they want to do with them at Reed and beyond.
Also, for the University of Glasgow, you hear a lot like, oh, we're over 500 years old. I say that all the time. But what I'd like students to remember is that even though we have over 500 years of academic excellence behind us, our student life experience is just as rich and as valuable. And that student life experience in Glasgow is just such a great learning experience too. Our students are very involved. We have over 300 clubs and societies. And we refer to our students' experience outside of the classroom as well.
So I've got another question for you guys. I'm going to tap into your expertise. What would be the one myth you'd like to debunk about the college admissions process? And again, we'll start with Will. You're on mute, Will.
Thank you for that reminder. Hopefully everyone can hear me now. Fortunately, I didn't get too far in my response. So there's a few that come to mind. I think that one that I always like to address is the issue of cost and the sticker price and all of that. And I'll use this opportunity to share what some of you may know already to be true, which is there are a lot of ways to help with the funding of higher education. A couple of my colleagues here mentioned need-based financial aid as opportunities. Emory has robust need-based financial aid as well. Is one of the schools that also meets 100% of demonstrated financial need for admitted domestic students. And I would also just say another way for Emory to meet to help with the cost is through our merit-based scholarships. And so very quickly, I'll just add, for those of you interested in Emory, I'd encourage you to look at our Emory University Scholars programs, which can be substantial. Those go up to full tuition and room and board. To be considered for those, you would just need to apply for admission, but to do so by November 15th. And you can find more information on our website about that.
I love Will's answer, and that's so important and true. I would add it's frustrating when a student might ask, well, what is the one thing I need to do? Is there one thing that I need to have to get in to? And after this process, some students who may not have been offered admission say, what was the one thing that kept me out? I mean, there's not one element, especially for universities practicing holistic review of applications. It's it is a process. We want students to trust it and to let it run its course. It's a hard answer to give sometimes, but it is true. There's not just one thing, one secret, anything that is gonna keep a student in or help a student in or keep a student out. I think that's a little bit of a myth. I guess I would try to debunk.
Yeah, my answer very much follows Darren's, and taking on this role as an admission counselor, coming from Reed College myself, I've learned that the most important part of my job is that it is not my job to say no to an application. It's my job to look at an application, figure out how can I say yes, how can I advocate for this student. And so on that note, I really encourage students to take full advantage of a college's virtual offerings. If they offer interviews, show up into an interview. We really want to get to know you and see who you are, and add in that color to your application, to that mosaic portrait of you, to find ways to see how you might fit in this community and bring you here and see what you can do here.
For the main myth I'd like to bust is that a lot of people think about when you study in the UK, because you apply to your major, they think that loses all aspects of flexibility, but that's not necessarily true. So even though you go in and you study your major from day one, there are still opportunities to grow with your degree and to change your degree if you prefer something else. It's just more of a focus flexibility. But I studied my undergrad in Scotland. I started off as an English and history joint major. major. As I went along, I discovered more of my interests. So I took classes from outside of English and history, and then I decided to drop history, carry on with English, and then eventually I picked up a minor in creative writing, which is what I ultimately graduated with. So you can totally have that flexibility aspect. Even if you are studying your major from day one, there are opportunities to change.
Thank you. There was a question that came in through the chat, and it might be worth answering it verbally instead. So the question is, for those colleges who have 2 rounds of early decision, can you provide any insight to help students understand whether they apply early decision, first round or second? And Darren, I know that you had just started to answer that. And so if you want to take a stab at it first, and then anyone else can chime in.
Sure. You could see I was starting to type ... and then I erased it, and that's all right. Yeah, I would say, I mean, if you've done your research, you've done your homework, and you're ready for the first round, I would say go for it and apply early. I mean, strategically as well, if you apply early decision round 1 to one college and it doesn't work out, then you have time to make perhaps an early decision round 2 or an early action deadline to a different college. And that's perfectly fine and acceptable in this process. So if you're ready by the first one, I think that's fine. Some colleges, and in our case in particular, our ED1 is a little bit larger than our ED2, but neither of those are as big as our regular round. And so there could be slight differences between 1 and 2 for some institutions in terms of the size of the pool. But either way, you're showing the dedication, you're showing the demonstrated interest, the penultimate demonstrated interest that a college is your top choice when applying early. And if you're ready, I would say go for it. Don't wait.
Anything else anyone would add to that?
I can jump in briefly because Emory also offers 2 rounds of early decision and understand whether to apply. Okay, so whether to apply first round or second. So at Emory, much like as I understood from Skidmore, we have 2 rounds, but they operate the same way. They're different deadlines. ED1 for us is November 1st. ED2 is January 1st. They operate the same way. However, despite having the 2 deadlines, both are binding because they're early decision, not early action. Similar to Skidmore, our ED1 pool tends to be a little bit larger. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easier or harder to get in ED1 versus ED2, though typically our ED1 pool is a little bit larger. We also usually take we usually take more students ED1 than ED2. So the larger pool is not really indicative of it being easier or harder in that sense. Some students, I think, choose to apply one versus the other for a multitude of reasons. If they're applying ED1, that's the first round. So that pretty clearly shows that that's their top choice in most any case. For ED2, that might be because a student wants to, maybe they applied ED1 somewhere else. Maybe they really are sort of hoping to have a strong trajectory in their senior year, and they think it's going to be better for them to have another semester of grades, especially if they're on an upward trend and maybe their grades weren't what they wanted them to be in 10th or 11th grade. So that can be another reason why a student may decide to apply ED2 to get a full semester of their senior year in. But this is something that's really up to every student. And I would definitely encourage you to have a conversation with your counselor at your school about what might be right for you and for the student, for the family.
Any other comments about this, Emma?
Short comment, Reed also offers early decision 1, November 15th, and ED2 on December 20th. For us, there's ostensibly no difference between the 2. It looks great to us either way if you show us that commitment. Can you say this is our number 1? And we're always happy to see those applications. And it's really up to you and when you are ready to apply. We have an early action deadline as well on November 15th, which is also another lovely option, as well as regular decision in January. But since we have those 2, I wanted to chime in.
So the next question I'm going to pose to you guys is, what is your favorite event or tradition on campus? And we'll start with Will first.
Emory has a lot of different traditions, and I think my favorites have changed over the years from when I was a student, until now. I'll keep it brief and just share that my favorite tradition today is something called the candlelight crossover, which is a gathering of the seniors a couple of days before they graduate, and they'll gather on one side of campus at a bridge, and they'll sort of cross the bridge at twilight by candlelight. And on the other side of the bridge is the alumni house, where a few hundred alums will have gathered, and they sort of ceremonially welcome them into alumnihood, and it's a big party and a celebration. And that's my favorite tradition now, because I get to be a part of it as an alum, and get to go and see old friends and classmates and professors in the process. But that's one of a few. I also just like to very briefly mention on the topic of ED, if I can, just go back and mention something called the My Intuition Calculator, which can be really helpful, I think, for students who are thinking about applying ED1 and want to get an idea of what they might receive in terms of financial aid from an institution. It's really intuitive. I think it's more intuitive than the net price calculator, and it uses real historical data shared by those institutions to give you a range. And so for students, I think particularly those thinking about applying ED, who want to get an idea, I would check out the My Intuition Calculator.
Great. At Skidmore, one of my favorite traditions is a concert, a benefit concert, fundraising concert called Beatlemore Skidmania. And it is a Beatles music concert, also expanding that to some of the British rock and the rock of that era, all performed by Skidmore students. It started, first concert was in, November of 2001, not long after September 11th, and was an amazing kind of campus gathering of sorts to begin. But now it's a major fundraiser, 3 sold out shows, students performing music in a variety of genre and a variety of ways to perform, a cappella singing groups, cello quartets, brass bands, all playing Beatles music and rock of that era. And it happens every November at Skidmore. It's a good community program as well.
Yeah, mine is in some ways maybe a mix of those two things. Also a kind of a graduation ceremony, and it kicks off our music festival that we have on campus at the end of every semester called Ren Fair, no longer Renaissance Fair. But the tradition that I love that's part of that festival and arts scene that we do at the end is thesis parade. So once all the seniors have turned in their senior thesis, they get a pair of golden laurels to celebrate their victory. And they all go on a march around campus, banging drums, hooting and hollering, celebrating. And they end up in front of our library, where we have a controlled bonfire, and students will throw the drafts of their thesis into that bonfire, watch all of that go up in flames. And it really brings the whole community together. Every single senior is there, all your juniors, sophomores, freshmen who are just jazzed to be a part of this community, to see all this catharsis. Professors are throwing confetti and just celebrating. And I love the thesis parade. It kicks off, the biggest party on campus, but it's a celebration of all that academic hard work that students have put into this place, and was a real moment of joy for me as a student. So that's my favorite.
And for me, I think my favorite tradition at the University of Glasgow is the week before classes start. It's a week of many names. It's known widely as Welcome Week, but it also consists of Orientation Week for our international students, where we host this series of events, including things like traditional Scottish dancing called Ceilidh dancing, which is a lot of fun. It really immerses you into Scotland, and you get to meet a bunch of other international students as well. But it also, at the same time throughout that week, is Freshers Week. And Freshers Week is essentially open doors for all clubs and societies. It's where you get to sample free sessions, you get to go to all of these events. And so by the time classes start, you can really cherry pick what you want to get involved with. So I love it because not only is it really immersive and welcoming, but it also allows you to get involved without fear of it conflicting with your studies.
So this last question, guys, has to be rapid fire because we have to do it in under a minute. But what is your best piece of advice for students and families going through this process? Will's up first.
Put as simply and briefly as I can, try as much as you can to be honest with yourself about what is important to you and what you're really looking for.
Get to know us the best you can. It's virtual this year, but do interviews, meet us. We can't travel to you, but you come see us, and we want to get to know you best we can this year.
Same advice. It's going to be okay. We're here for you. Please don't hesitate to give us a call, shoot us an email, take advantage of all of our online offerings, whether they're read specific or college admission wide. This process seems scary, doesn't have to be. We're excited to get to know you. It's the best part of my job. So.
Yeah, and I second everything that was just said. And I'd just like to add, just keep an open mind and also think about where you can see yourself living for 4 years, because you have to be happy wherever you go, right?
And I would say have some fun, guys. This is a really special time in your life. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. As you close out, there'll be a quick 5-question survey. We hope that you'll provide us with some feedback. We hope that you had fun during this too, and we'll go to strivescan.com/SAIS for all the recordings that were done today. Thanks so much, and best wishes with your college search, guys. Bye.